Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Before I started my written blog, before I started this video blog, I used to use my Facebook, my personal Facebook, which I don't have anymore. It's another story. But because I used to post a lot about these chemtrails, I started noticing them 4 years ago when I'd see them maybe once every other week, and I thought they were curious. I'd never seen stuff coming out of the back of planes and hang out in the sky for 4 hours, dissipating into small, misty-looking clouds. And I didn't talk about it. I wasn't even sure I was. I thought maybe at the time I was wondering if what I was seeing is something I'd just become aware of and somehow I missed out on my whole life. But over the years, I've been paying attention, and this has become almost a daily occurrence here in the Pacific Northwest. Every time I've gone down to Portland, I'm up in Seattle. Anytime I've gone down to Portland, I've noticed the spraying's even worse than up here, which blows me away because they're a smaller population, and that makes me think it doesn't have to do with fighting pollution emission because Seattle surely should have a lot more emissions than Portland based on population and traffic. Because a lot of people who acknowledge these but don't think they're bad, they say, well, they wouldn't be. So many people just have that in their mind that the government wouldn't do bad to them. But honestly, you just have to look at this. This is secrecy in plain sight. There's no explanation anywhere as to what this is. You have to go to people who've done the research, but then it comes down to a credibility thing, and most people who are deniers will just deny credibility, you know? That's one of the main tactics taught to the masses, to deny credibility. And that's been done to the internet. Think about how many people go, oh, did you get that on the internet? But what's wrong when they say that is that they're so used to getting all their information from the television, and to the television's completely legit, totally authenticated, regulated by the FCC. How could it not be? You know? But anyway, True Seeker, let me tell you my personal story with chemtrails. I do this thing called umpiring, adult slow pitch softball. Why do I do it? Because I grew up around the sport. When I was a kid, my parents didn't have a lot of money. My dad did this year round as a nightly job for extra money. And I would often be at the games, watching the games with him, throwing balls with other kids that were there. You know, it wasn't bad for me as a kid. I liked being around the ball field and seeing the big men hit the ball. You know, that's cool when you're a little kid. And when I was 17, I started doing it for extra money too. And it wasn't bad money as a 17-year-old. I paid $20 a game. You could do 4 games a night, make $80 a night. That's good money back in ooh. I guess we were into 2000. That was 2000, pre 9/11 world. I was 17 in 2000. I was also 16, but I was 17 when I started. But anyway, you know, so I've always been outside. I've always been into sports. I've been umpiring softball every year. And about 4 or 5 years ago, it's funny how you can lose track of a year. Shoot, I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 years ago, but about that time, I started noticing these trails would just be left in the sky. Because when you umpire adult slow pitch softball, imagine it. You almost have the same view for the whole period of time that you're doing the job because you're standing behind home plate of a baseball field. If you don't know a baseball field, it's the shape of a diamond. If you didn't know, I did a video post on diamonds. It's a 33-word, 33 conspiracy. This is how they rule the world. Think about how every girl wants the diamond. Anyway, baseball, all centered around 9s and Ks. Oh, 9s and 11s. Huh. Where have we seen these numbers? I love how everybody keeps telling me things are a coincidence. But anyway, when you stand behind the diamond and you look out, you just look at the sky for essentially as many hours as you're out on the field. And oftentimes you're doing 6 hours at a time. 4 games can take up to 6 hours. What I would notice about 4 or 5 years ago is a plane would fly through the sky and it would leave behind this trail that would just last there forever. And I'd think, whoa, I don't ever remember planes leaving trails like that. At first I was like, man, maybe there's some kind of new fuel. New plane fuel. I mean, maybe it is. Wouldn't that be fun? I mean, if it was a secret program for plane biodiesel, we know it's not, True Seeker. It's probably Monsanto excess. You know how I know it's not good? Because I grow stuff outside, and the stuff I grow outside turns yellow. It didn't used to be this way, but now it does, and I know why. It's because this is probably like heavy metals and chemical excess, maybe extra fluoride. Who knows? I think all our government does is build weapons and create chemicals. Who would they bring over here after World War II? Oh yeah, all the Nazi scientists who were experts in chemicals. You know, I don't know how people don't see a True Seeker. I read in the Bible that a lot of people just won't see in the end. And I don't know if we're really in the end or that's the lie to always make us think we're in the end. Maybe all this time a lot of people couldn't see. It's like trying to make us hopeless, but I don't want to be hopeless. I want to get a gang of people together who can see chemtrails and raise some awareness, because I think when the masses see people in herds talking about something, then all of a sudden it becomes contagious and interesting to them. You know, they need to see it first. The masses can be persuaded. How did everybody get on cell phones overnight? How did everybody learn the term contrails overnight? I hate that term. Contrails? Are you serious? Contrails. Where'd everyone learn that? The History Channel special saying that this isn't a real conspiracy? This is just how jets operate when there's certain atmospheric things which all of a sudden seem to have emerged in the last 5 years? This is craziness. And you know what's crazy is everyone thinks I'm crazy for talking about this. I don't know if I said it already, but I'm going to say it again. On Facebook, I used to use it as a channel to expose things like chemtrails. I didn't do that the whole time, but one day I just said, you know what? I'm tired of all these kitten videos. I'm tired of all these funny things. Let's use this thing to raise some awareness about the crazy shit going on in the world. And the day I did that, I started to realize a lot of people who I was cool with before all of a sudden were like, wait a minute, what's wrong with you? Are you one of those Looney Tunes? And I'm saying, no, you guys, pay attention. And then next thing you know, you got 5 more comments. Zach, only crazy people say things like that. And you know, to me, it was just another example. I already went through all this over September 11th. Now here it is with the skies being sprayed over our head almost every day of the week. And somehow everybody acts like it's normal. You know, we've had clear days up here where you couldn't hardly see the sky because it was all mist like this. I mean, just look at these things. First of all, they farm artificial rainbows if you pay attention. I don't know when anybody ever saw one of these before, these circular rainbows that you can see up because of the sunlight. And look at these things. It almost looks like a rocket took off back here. This is how it looks in person too. You look at this guy, you're like, holy shit, is NASA operating? No, I guess that's a contrail. And all this stuff up here is because of the atmospheric pressure. Well, if this is true, then what happened to the atmospheric pressure of this world 5 years ago? Have they changed our atmosphere? I mean, I don't know what's going on. The most logical thing is that it's excess chemicals, they're experimenting, but it doesn't seem to have to do with population. Again, if you go to Portland, Oregon, and observe the sky, it is more heavily sprayed than Seattle, Washington, which doesn't make any sense because Seattle has way more population, way more traffic congestion. If it's an environmental thing to counteract, Seattle should surely have more spraying. And believe me, Seattle has a lot, but Portland has a crazy amount, which also leads to my theory that maybe our region's up for something. I've read that the Pacific Northwest is the most heavily sprayed area. I got to admit, though, I discovered gematria under these contrails. So for those of you who are saying they're filling up our brains and retarding us, I would say maybe so, but not for all. I'm fighting the contrails. But they are messing up our stuff. My outdoor vegetables turn yellow. This stuff is contaminating. And anybody who tells you contrails aren't real, man, oh my goodness. They're the same as the 9/11. It's that phrase, you can't change the mind of a believer. And so many people in America believe in America through everything. They believe it through planes disappearing into buildings, defying the laws of physics. Which surely means that if that's really what happened that day, God was on the side of Osama bin Laden, because that's the only way miracles happen, right? Planes can't disappear into buildings. That's not physics. Think about a little fly flying into your vehicle. If that fly flies really fast, do you think he's going to pierce your vehicle? Even if he flies 1,000,000 miles an hour, he's going to splat all over your car. And your car's hardly going to suffer a nick. Just like a steel and reinforced building meant to withstand a commercial airliner. As anybody can see on the documentary that's been uploaded since right after the World Trade Centers opened, with the engineers talking about this because they're the world's biggest buildings at the time. It's all a big setup, Truth Seeker. That's why they even mentioned it at the beginning, foreshadowing then. Those buildings always had one destiny, just like our skies probably always had this destiny. I think they just want to see how much they can get away with before they finally do us all in. Man, we got to wake up to the chemtrails, though. I know these things are poisoning us somehow. This might be the slow death. Or experimentation for something else. You know? This kind of stuff can cause confusion. If all of a sudden the news went on and started showing this image and saying, whoa, did a meteor just hit and, God knows where? And they showed this image, and a newscaster was on there going, and the meteor trail came down like this, and then it did a spiral, and reports say that something reflective is causing this rainbow, And the masses, in a second, they would all believe that story. They'd be talking about comet meteor trails hitting the Earth, and all of a sudden it's a new phenomenon like sinkholes. Anyway, I gotta wrap this up. I think my power drill is ready to go. Oh, wait. Check this out. Tomorrow's March 11th. I want to document on the 311th day of the year. This is November 7th, 8 days before my robbery. A lot better times for me. But anyway, I documented this. I took this picture right by my house. The sky was just crazy that day. They were going crazy on this day, and I was wondering, I was like, man, are they doing this stuff by the numbers? Are they doing this stuff by the numbers? I mean, look at this. This is the sky. It looks like I took a picture of a water or a painting or something. This is the sky. I swear to you, it looked just like this. The pictures are doing it justice. Also, here's some chemical trails gematria. Interesting. All right, Truth Seeker. Until next time.